All right. Okay, folks, so during the next panel session, we'll be hearing from a representative from an organization that has developed an incredible program that aims to support undocumented immigrant youth in their journey towards success, and then a panel that will further discuss its strategies and implementation. Rubi Martinez is a communications coordinator at the Dream Resource Center and is committed to finding creative ways to help families, to help amplify the center's projects and initiatives. More broadly, Rubi is dedicated to help highlight narratives and catalyze a broader media impact that elevates the stories of immigrants and working people across the nation. Prior to coming to the Labor Center, Rubi coordinated campaign work for various political campaigns and was also a state digital director for the environmental organization Next Gen Climate in Nevada. Rubi is a former journalist and an Emmy-nominated Univision news producer. She holds a bachelor's degree in journalism from Cal State University of Northridge. So please, let's welcome Rubi Martinez to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. How's everyone? Soon to be noontime. First of all, I want to say that I'm very humbled to be here, and thank you to the organizers of this event for having me here. As mentioned, I work for the Dream Resource Center, a fantastic place, and I'm really proud to be there right now, and doing what I love to do, communication, storytelling, around the immigrant youth movement. And I want to tell you a little bit of the Dream Resource Center. The Dream Resource Center, since its funding, has emerged as a national source for innovative research, education, leadership development, and issues, policy on immigration issues. Our work is crucial to ensure immigrant youth continue to be at the forefront of the national conversations. We at the DRC, the Dream Resource Center, believe people deserve the right to learn, be healthy, and pursue their dreams regardless of immigration status. Okay, I just want to talk to you a little bit about the projects that we have at the Dream Resource Center. I'll start with the past projects. Healthy California, the Healthy California project was created, in creating the project, we wanted to be intentional in developing leaders, focusing in the intersectional of immigrant rights and healthcare access. Similar, the Health Ambassador Fellowship trains and develops immigrant leaders as health advocates for undocumented immigrants in California. We also have Undocumented Stories. Undocumented Stories, it's a multimedia exhibit. And the exhibit, the purpose and mission of the exhibit is to uplift the narratives and stories of the immigrant community. We also have an upcoming project, the Immigrant Justice Fellowship, which will be launched in January. And this is a rapid response fellowship that will basically develop leaders and across different regions in California, including Orange County, Inland Empire, Los Angeles, Central Valley, Silicon Valley, and Sacramento. And the last project, this is our flagship project, the Dream Summer Fellowship. The Dream Summer Fellowship. So we've been having this fellowship for 7 years, and in 2010, because of the failure of the U.S. Senate to pass the Federal Dream Act, immigrant youth got mobilized and created this, this space. They wanted to create a space and really strengthen the immigrant youth movement. And so the mission of the fellowship is to empower immigrant youth, create a safe space for the immigrant youth and promote multi-generational approach to social justice to address the needs of the immigrant communities. Okay, and just a little overview of the Dream Summer Fellowship. This is a national fellowship, a 10-week national fellowship. We're across the nation, specifically in 19 states. And we also have a network of alumni of 600 and counting. This is our 7th year of Dream Summer, and we're going into our 8th year. Okay, and I wanted to also talk to you about the different cohorts for Dream Summer. Some of them, throughout the years, we've, developed new cohorts, but, this is an overview. We have the queer cohort, women's cohort, API cohort, and then the ones that you see the asterisk after it is that cohorts that we actually, develop different research. The Black immigrant youth cohort, focus on undocumented Black immigrants. Healthy California, this is a 5-part research that took about 5 years. And Silicon Valley cohort, our newest report, and all these reports are available on our website, labor.ucla.edu, and I welcome you to, read some of these reports with key findings. Oops, okay. I want to, I think I skipped a slide, but I want to bring over the panelists so they don't have to, be in their standings. So you want to come over, and then I'll introduce you once we're all seated down. Thank you so much for being here. Can we have a round of applause for our panelists here? Okay, and I'd like to introduce, I'll start from that side, Mateo Lopez. He was Dream Summer, he's a Dream Summer alum. He participated in Dream Summer in 2011, and he currently serves as policy aide for Supervisor Dave Cortese, I believe I hope I'm pronouncing that right, in Santa Clara County. And following Mario, we have Montzerrat Garcia Bedoya. She participated in Dream Summer back in 2014, and she also participated in the Health Ambassador Fellowship. And Montzerrat is a program manager with Youth Leadership Institute. And I also like to welcome Alejandro Jimenez. He participated in Dream Summer in 2014. He currently serves as program coordinator for the Dreamers Center at City College of San Francisco. He also, he's been coordinating programming for Dream Summer for the past 2 years, if I'm right. Perfect. Thank you so much for being here. I'll go ahead and ask a question, and then we can, all of you have an opportunity to answer the question. The first question is, how has participating in the program that helps immigrant youth impacted you and your organization? You want to start, Mario?
Sure, I can go ahead and get started. So again, I was a summer fellow in 2011 while I was an undergraduate student at UC Berkeley. It was the inaugural cohort, and so I feel very fortunate and privileged to have gone through that process with the Dream Research Center and the UCLA Labor Center in Los Angeles. And so during that summer in 2011, I actually interned through the California Immigrant Policy Center as a policy aide, working on the first iteration of the Trust Act, and car impoundments and the vehicle license for undocumented folks. And so I gained a lot of experience in policy work, and one thing led to another, and then I was able to continue to be able to work on different policy organizations, different policy issues. And so I would say that I had a very good opportunity for me to be able to expand my skills, but also expand my networks that have landed me to where I am today.
Thank you, Mario. Montzerrat?
Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here and see so many familiar faces. When I was a fellow in 2014, I was also an undergrad at UC Berkeley, and I was working with Causa Justa Just Cause, which is a tenant rights organization that really works at the intersections of immigration and housing, but they had a special project on healthy housing, and I was also part of the Healthy California cohort, which was the second cohort, to really focus in on access to healthcare for undocumented communities. So it was a lot of different intersections. But I loved working there. It was a really good organization that really supported me in a lot of different ways. And some of those ways was with mentorship, being able to develop my skills still as a young person, and being able to have that mentorship is really an important part of this program and the Dream Summer, because it's not just about putting us somewhere in a host organization, but really having the support to grow leadership skills, to be able to get something out of it in a very short time, which was about 8 weeks that we were in the fellowship. And I was also part of the Health Ambassadors, which was a longer program. It was 9 months, and I just graduated from that in May 2017. We're in 2017. And that was a longer program, but really built on all those years of the Dream Summer, having a Healthy California cohort that really put at the forefront immigrant youth to work at the core of the problem, which gave a totally different perspective. It really empowered me to say, like, hey, this is my issue. This is really something that I want to work toward the solution. And I think that that's what the Dream Summer program did to me and does to a lot of the participants.
Thank you. Alejandro?
Hi, everybody. It's 2017. So the way that I got a lot from being a Dream Summer Fellow in 2014. It had been a year since I graduated from Berkeley, and I didn't have my DACA yet. I had filed, and it takes forever. And if you have any like prior police interactions, they want to look into your whole life. So basically, I didn't have a way to be employed. And when I got into Dream Summer, it actually gave me my first opportunity to have a professional placement where I can practice what I had learned in college, and where I could start a career journey. So I was placed in a nonprofit affinity group in downtown Oakland called Grant Makers for Immigrants and Refugees. And I think one of the most tangible benefits that I saw was being able to see this it's like this third, there's the public, the private, and then I saw philanthropy. And it was really good for me to see that at that time, because I had a very like cynical view of my future. Being always having to like create a way for you to be included, always having to like suggest to people how they can include you in what they're doing. Eventually it wears on you. And I feel that by the time I was finished at UC Berkeley, I had like a nihilistic viewpoint on the world, and getting into Dream Summer really just gave me a little bit of a spark and some hope as to how there are really good people out here. In the philanthropy world, there's really good people with a lot of money, and they support us. So it was really nice to be interning for 10 weeks and to do Dream Summer and to fly out to LA, a city that I have a lot of love for because that's where I started my American experience. So that summer was very, very impactful. It opened a lot of opportunities, and to this day I continue to work for a lot of the folks at the Dream Resource Center. After being a intern, I became a part of the Alumni Council, and I've been involved ever since. So I think if I could summarize it in one sentence, is being in Dream Summer allowed me to see what's behind the curtain, and then continue to be inspired to create new ways for undocumented youth to be included in all of these systems and processes that we use to make our lives happy and productive.
Thank you, Alejandro. And actually want to, we have 2 more questions, and I noticed we're running a little bit, against the clock right here. So I'm gonna combine 2 questions, and hopefully you're able to, address those, with the time given. But I wanted to ask you about some of the benefits of participating in these type of programs, and also how can organizations, schools, and local government continue to support immigrant youth towards success. And we can start with you, Alejandro, if you like.
I would say the primary benefit of these programs is really the model, because what it allows you to do is give undocumented youth opportunities to have employment or a fellowship or an internship without having to rely on the traditional HR methods, right, of compensation. So by having fellowships, whether they're summer fellowships or 6-month or the fall or the academic year, you work within the system and you're able to provide undocumented youth, but also recent college graduates or undergrads with the most essential part of their learning experience, which is actual hands-on experience. So I think that the model that Dream Summer uses, it opens an avenue where you no longer have to go through all the roadblocks that come with having a paid internship or a temporary job. Rather, you create or you replicate, right? You use a model that's already successful, that other colleges and universities use, that even other counties and other cities are starting to use. And by using the fellowship model, I feel that you give opportunities where there otherwise wouldn't be any.
Thank you.
Is it on? It's on. I turned it off to save battery. But in addition to what Alejandro said, yes, that's definitely the benefit of having a financial support, especially for young people that may not be eligible for DACA, and with the federal decision and contextualizing this of not being able to have DACA in the following months or years, it really provided that opportunity to build that expertise, to build that leadership without having to worry about having a social security number. But I think the other part was also the mentorship of it, and really being able to have a host organization that really understood my experience, that really understood what I wanted to do in the future, that took that into account in such a short amount of time, and being able to develop different goals and being able to work with someone that was going to help me be better. So definitely, I think the mentorship component was part of it, and getting a lot of the support from the Dream Summer staff. We each had a person that was connected to us, and they would check in with us all the time. So that kind of support is not often. I think it's needed a lot, and when we talk about resources, mentorship is one of the resources that's very scarce within the undocumented community. Having someone that actually understands your experience and being able to help you navigate those different obstacles that are going to be in the way.
Yeah, I definitely want to be able to echo what both of them said. For me in 2011, as I was about to graduate from UC Berkeley, there weren't a lot of opportunities for us, given that we were still recovering from the recession, and a lot of the philanthropies or foundations that were around had very limited financial resources because everyone was really strapped at that time. And so whatever financial resources were available for folks, they were very limited, right? And not everyone was able to have access to that. And so I really do credit the Dream Summer program for being able to intern over the summer and get a stipend that enabled me to come back to UC Berkeley and finish my senior year, because I had actually taken a year off from school because I couldn't afford the previous tuition to pay it off. And so now we're in a very fortunate place, and I say that lightly, because there are a lot of number of resources here in the state of California that assist immigrant youth and young adults. But obviously, because of the whole DACA termination, we're going to have to be creative and go back to some of the ways that we were able to assist our kind of peers. And so one of the things that I would like to actually emphasize is the fact that now I'm in a position of opportunity and privilege where I'm able to influence policy and decision-making at the county level, working for Supervisor Dave Cortese, who is the president of the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors. And so in 2016, we actually created our New Americans Fellowship Program, which is a pilot program that identifies, recruits, and provides paid internship opportunities for DACA recipients to intern over a 10-week period over the summer with a number of county departments and agencies. And we actually just completed our very first cohort of 9 fellows this past September. And it was somewhat bittersweet because when we actually did our policy recommendations or presentations in terms of the research projects that the fellows had been working on over the summer, it was on the same day that Jeff Sessions announced the rescission of DACA. And so it was kind of one of those days and one of those moments that it's like, you know, something that immigrant youth had been working for a number of years, both since 2011 and leading up to DACA, and now we're still in this situation where we have to fight for what we need and to be able to have that. And so we, as part of the pilot program, allocated $200,000. And last year, we allocated an additional $200,000 for a total of $400,000 to be able to provide paid internship opportunities for immigrant youth and young adults who don't necessarily have access or connections to social networks that enable them to be able to have careers or pathways to careers in public service. Because when you think about an undocumented individual, you don't necessarily see them having that type of social capital to be able to have access to those type of spaces. And so through the New Americans Fellowship Program, we had 3 specific goals. One of them was to be able to provide them with the opportunity to have a paid experience, given that there are limited financial resources for this type of population. The second one was to try to improve immigrant integration efforts at the County of Santa Clara by having folks who are affected by this particular issue come in and work with our county agencies and our departments to be able to identify the gaps that we're missing, right? And so we had a number of fellows working in the Chief Executive Office, Office of LGBTQ Affairs, Office of Cultural Competency. We ourselves hosted a fellow as well, and they worked on a variety of different projects. And one of the things, and the last thing that I want to be able to say is that we want to be able to make sure that, that we also have at the county people who are going to be, in the future, voices for different communities, because representation at the end of the day really does matter. And case in point, when we think about a lot of the recent natural disasters that have been happening around the country, there's been news, particularly in Houston, out of the Hurricane Harvey incident that Immigration and Customs Enforcement was still, doing enforcement activities in the area, and the mayor had to come up and step up and say all of these things. So here in San Jose, in Santa Clara County, and in California, given the massive recent fires and current fires here that we're experiencing in the Santa Cruz Hills ourselves, we had our fellow in our office of Supervisor Dave Cortese work on improving our emergency response and how we can make sure that we incorporate the perspective of immigrants so that we can go ahead and do proper outreach, proper education, and prepare our immigrant community residents to be prepared for any kind of type of emergency, right? And if you don't necessarily have these type of voices in these spheres of influence, you're missing a very key aspect of effective policy making. When you don't have people that reflect the community in positions of power, then you are not necessarily being representative of the entire community. And that's why we decided to create this New Americans Fellowship Program, to create those avenues for folks who are already marginalized or who are disenfranchised, right? And a key thing about that is that in addition to having the New Americans Fellowship Program, we understood that we were limited, and this is what Alejandro was talking about, of bureaucracy and like the HR department. We knew that as a county agency, we cannot hire undocumented people without a work authorization or a permit, right? And so what we decided to do in addition to that is partner with Dream Resource Center. We gave them $70,000 to be able to go ahead and do their Silicon Valley cohort, to be able to expand opportunities for folks who are not necessarily DACA recipients. And so I would really encourage the San Mateo County, I don't know if Supervisor Slocum is here, or any other agencies, to be able to identify resources within their county budgets to be able to try to replicate something like this at the county, right? because there's immigrant youth, obviously, here in San Mateo County as well. And so that's the primary thing that I would say for government organizations who are willing to assist and improve services for immigrant youth and young adults in the broader immigrant community. Second to that, and I'll finish my comment with this, is that there's been a number of DACA lawsuits on behalf of different government agencies, but the County of Santa Clara is the first county in the nation to file a joint lawsuit on behalf of an employer, which is the county, and the DACA employees. And so there's a vested interest, a property rights interest for us, for the county, to be able to say, these are our DACA employees, we're going to stand behind them, and we're going to go ahead and support them all the way, and we're going to sue the Trump administration, and that's what we did. And so I would say to the County of San Mateo, I'm not sure if you have talked to our county council yet, I would say to San Mateo County to file an amicus brief and support our lawsuit so that we can continue to amplify our efforts collectively. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mario. And thank you. And we have a few minutes, and I wanted to ask Montse and Alejandro about your experience. Going through Dream Summer, and how are you now applying that to the work that you do right now?
Hello? I think it had a direct effect. I don't think there's a big coincidence that I'm working with young people now and working with the Youth Leadership Institute and seeing that having that support system for young people like me, for having a support system for non-traditional immigrant youth or non-traditional youth leaders is really going to make an impact in the future. Using those experiences to add to my resume, or to be able to use those experiences to say like, hey, I have experience and I can get a full-time job, and I can use those experiences to be able to support the young people that I'm working with right now. And I think that's the main difference, and also being able to have opportunities for professional development within my job, not to continue to do the work that I did with the Dream Summer and that I'm doing that I did with the Health Ambassadors. So definitely, I think that the benefits are really being able to continue my professional development as a young adult, as a young person who wants a full-time job, that my family depends on a lot of my financial responsibility. So, is that covering?
Thank you very much.
For me, it allowed me to see how to create just structures within academic institutions. So right now, as a program coordinator at City College, I learn a lot from having worked with the UCLA Dream Resource Center. Everything from professional development to inclusivity to, it's that transition between theory and praxis, and then how you put that into in play. So one example is exposure is everything, right? For me, one of the coolest things about having been in Dream Summer was meeting undocumented youth from the East Coast, Black, Haitian, Caribbean, from DC, from Florida. That to me was amazing, because here in California, where most of us are brown, maybe Mexican, maybe Central American, you take for granted that this is the United States, and there's people from all over the world that want to come here. So there's probably people from all over the world here without documents. And that gives you a perspective as to your own experience. Like Mario says, it allows us to measure our level of privilege, right? Even as folks who are struggling, we are privileged to a degree. So bringing those lessons into my space, where I really am invested in the development of the young people that come to City College in general, but then also in the development of undocumented youth who are interested in things that you wouldn't normally hear, right? Like, I have some students in my program that they don't want to transfer, they just want to do coding and learn Python and learn the languages of Silicon Valley. So I tell them, okay, let's go get you some tech people, because why not? So exposure is everything, being open-minded. And I think more than anything, what I'm saying is it allowed me to be creative in how I work, and not be limited by, oh, you need a form for this, or you need a permit for this, or you need to have the approval of so-and-so. Like, yeah, we're going to do that because we're law-abiding non-citizens, but we're also going to create new ways to do things that are within the parameters of what we're allowed to do. So The DRC is a great model for at least for my program at City College.
Thank you, and I want to thank the panelists, for being here. And if you have any questions, everyone, I invite you to connect with us, with the panelists, and so we can answer your questions. Thank you very much, and if we can just give a round of applause to our panelists, that would be great. Thank you, everyone.
So we'll have 5 minutes for Q&A if anyone has any extra questions.
And if
Thank
you're,
you.
Sorry, if you're just quick, if you're addressing a question to a specific person, that'll be great to also know.
Okay, anyone can actually answer this question. I find your stories really compelling, and I really appreciate you sharing and the sense of agency that you have in pursuing an issue that is very close to your heart. My question is, there are other immigrants who come here that may not necessarily have to deal with illegal issues. Some of them do come here through legal means, whether as refugees or whatnot. And I'm wondering, how can you help support those who might be transitional age youth, who might be dealing with issues of isolation and loneliness, but yet there is no compelling issue to really drive them, and yet they need some kind of support. So what lessons have you learned in terms of how you can support those immigrants who are also feeling some sense of isolation?
Thank you for asking that. Great question. We just had a welcoming day at our program on Tuesday for all of the students at San Francisco International, which is a newcomer school. And this is something that I talked to my student staff about, because we've been to that school before, and a lot of them are, like you said, folks who came with regular means, a visa of some sort, but they're still in that exclusion, effect. And the main thing that we emphasized was just recognizing that their journey, while it sucks, right? And just in high school terms, it's very exclusionary. We went through it, and it's important for us to share that with them. So what we did is we brought them into our space. We brought a ton of food. Like I told them, if we can get donations, if we could pay, good food too, so because we wanted to make them feel at home. We wanted to make them feel like we understand what they're going through. And some of them are from China, from South Korea, Yemen, a lot of Guatemalan kids who speak Mayan, just a whole rainbow of folks. And I really emphasize that for us to have an influence, or for us to build trust, or for us to have an impact that day, they need to know that we went through that too. And this is why it's so important to have these types of Dream Resource Centers, or I heard somebody say a cultural resource center earlier, one of the presenters. These spaces are very important because that's where you can actually acknowledge the fact that our stories are different from what's typically the center of the American narrative, and it gives us an opportunity to actually bring our stories to center and to say, hey, we understand you. We gave it up to the youngsters from Yemen because they were so happy to be there. We couldn't even communicate with most of them, but they were smiling, they were laughing, they were eating, and we had translators. I think that effort is what matters, the effort that you make to include people in. It's really easy to make excuses. It's really easy to say oh, well, we're sorry, we don't have a translator today, but get some food and just kind of pat people on the back. When youngsters see that, they tune you out. But even if you can't understand somebody and you show them a smile and you say, hey, welcome, I'm happy to be here. I know you came a long way. What's up? Just do it from the heart. I feel like it makes people feel that connection, that at its most basic, that human connection. And so that's something that we're emphasizing as a program, because we are tasked as a Dream Resource Center, even though our main customer, so to speak, is undocumented youth. We're always getting people from ESL programs, newcomers, And I feel like it's on us, because at one point we were those youngsters that, you know, were in the back of the room, not sure how to ask a question. So definitely centering that experience, centering the migration experience, and saying, hey, this is part of being an American. This is part of being here. You had to come here, you know, from somewhere. Even folks that think they were born here, their ancestors, their great-grandparents, they came from somewhere. So acknowledging that, I feel, takes off that pressure of being like the only one. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Any more questions?
So I think that that's the end of the session. If we could give a big round of applause for all of our panelists again, thank you so much.